Why does it seem like the White House is on the collision course with the courts, especially with Judge Boasberg, whom Trump has called a radical left lunatic and asked for his impeachment? While James Boasberg has threatened the Trump administration with criminal contempt. And what's behind this tweet by El Salvador's president? Here's what's going on. So President Trump has been on an immigration crackdown ever since he took office on 20th January. Earlier this month, he invoked a more than 200-year-old wartime law, that is the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, to send alleged Venezuelan gang members to a high-security prison in El Salvador, skipping the usual process. The Trump administration contended that this act gave them the power to swiftly remove immigrants they identified as members of gang, regardless of their immigration status. But this move was blocked temporarily by a federal judge, Boasberg, on the grounds that detainees were being denied a chance to challenge their removal in court. The judge also ruled to turn around planes that were already carrying deportees to an El Salvador prison. But this didn't stop flights carrying more than 200 deportees to El Salvador, where the men remained detained despite objections from immigrants and civil rights groups. And hours later, El Salvador's president posted this on his social media, specifically quoting Boasberg's orders, and it was later reposted by Secretary of the State Marco Rubio. Now, Boasberg accuses administration officials of rushing deportees out of the country, disregarding his orders to halt the deportations temporarily. But the administration says that it did not violate any order because the judge did not include the directive to turn around planes in his written order, and that the planes had already left the U.S. jurisdiction when the order was received. So Boasberg has demanded that the government reveal the flight timings of the planes that carried these deportees to determine the veracity of their claims. But the Department of Justice refused to provide these details by invoking the state secret privilege. So this Wednesday, Boasberg wrote that the Trump administration's actions were sufficient for the court to conclude that probable cause exists to find the government in criminal contempt. He has given the U.S. government until 23rd April to remedy its dismissal of his order by providing the deported men with the right to due process in the court. The Trump administration has appealed the ruling, but it seems unlikely that the courts will deny detainees a chance of hearing, especially in the light of recent Supreme Court judgment earlier this month that came in regarding this case. Although it vacated Boasberg's temporary orders to halt deportation, it restricted the American administration to deport under the Wartime Act only if those about to be removed had a chance to argue their case in court, contest their pending removals, and challenge whether the act was being lawfully applied to them. Boasberg says, although his orders to halt deportation were found defective by the Supreme Court, he will not excuse the government's violation, which he thinks defied the court's order deliberately and gleefully. The U.S. Judiciary is keen on providing a fair hearing opportunity to migrants to avoid injustice, but the row between Republican government and the judges nominated under Democrats is only getting worse, posing a strong challenge to the Trump administration.